Jamie, welcome to the PHASA podcast. This is the first that we have opportunity to chat on the PHASA podcast. We're here for Lobby Week. For how many years has this been going on?
Yeah, thanks. So SCI's Lobby Week, I've been with Safari Club for 14 years. I think this will be my 14th Lobby Week, and it started before I did. So I'm not 100% sure of how long it's been going on, but we're sort of well into its lifespan at this point.
How many people of SCI usually attends Lobby Week?
So we typically, I would say, somewhere around 120 members come in for Lobby Week. Most of them are SCI's board members because we also have a board meeting at the end of the week. But we also have folks who just genuinely want to get out there and spread SCI's good message and lobby on behalf of SCI with their congressional offices, even though they're not board members and not attending that board meeting.
Usually, who do we see? How many meetings are scheduled generally for such a lobby day?
Yeah, so we basically try to, SCI's advocacy staff schedules as many meetings as we can with members of Congress, and that includes both U.S. House of Representatives and U.S. Senate. And so we try to see as many of the actual members of Congress as we can, and if they're not available, then we schedule meetings with their staffers, which, if you know anything about sort of legislative process and policymaking in the U.S., those are the real people who kind of move things along and sometimes have a lot of power within Congress, are those staffers. And so they are equally as important as meeting with the members of Congress. But we typically try to as I said, as many as we can, typically around 100 meetings, right? And so each state will have at least a few members come, and then we will schedule as many meetings as we can with those with that state's House of Representatives or senators. And so it kind of varies from year to year, but usually around 100 meetings. And again, we try to get as many member of Congress meetings, but a lot of times those meetings are with staffers.
What usually get discussed? How do you decide on topics? What are the main things that we're going to discuss this year?
Yeah, so we go in with a briefing document and SCI's priorities, and so usually we have 5 to 10 priorities, depending on how active the legislative session is and what sort of bills are in front of Congress at the moment. And so obviously our priorities are any federal legislation that will impact hunting, wildlife use, conservation, etc. And so this year, I would say our biggest priority is a piece of legislation that would amend the Endangered Species Act in the United States, which is the biggest federal wildlife policy in the United States. And it regulates basically how the federal government manages wildlife in the U.S. And so there are many things that we want to see changed under the Endangered Species Act. Fortunately, we have a very friendly House of Representatives right now. And so Chairman Bruce Westerman, who's the chair of the House Natural Resources Committee, he's the lead sponsor of that bill, and he is one of SCI's champions. And so there's a lot in the bill that we like and that we want to see implemented. And so I think that for sure is SCI's top priority in Congress right now, is hopefully getting that over the finish line. It definitely has a long way to go, but that'll be our priority.
Yeah, it's going to have a huge impact on South Africa as well. So
right,
it's going to be good if we can get that through. In the past, any successes that I've seen? Is Lobby Week successful?
Yeah, I mean, sure. One thing that I think people kind of ask, maybe why do we have a Lobby Week? And we always say that we have professionals on staff. We have professional lobbyists on staff or through our contractors, and of course they know the issues. They know how to lobby. They can build relationships with these members of Congress, and but the reality is that there's nothing that they can say or do that is more impactful than these members of Congress hearing it from their own constituents, right? They get lobbied every day, all day long from different interest groups, including SCI. But what they really care about, obviously, is what their constituents want. And so the constituents are the ones who elected them to be there. And so, at the end of the day, it is critical for SCI members to come to Lobby Day and really make their voice heard within their members' offices, right? And that's what's so important about Lobby Day is we're bringing the folks from around the country and also around the world to come and so that the members of Congress can hear firsthand from their constituents. In terms of international members, international stakeholders, and all of this, I mean, one thing that I think is really important about PHASA being here is that you bring the credibility, honestly, of some of the policies that SCI supports, because you guys are the ones obviously on the ground, and some of this legislation that the United States passes, it impacts you guys directly, and so it matters for these members of Congress to hear how these sorts of things will actually impact you, whether it be positive or negative, on the ground in South Africa, in the rest of Southern Africa, in different parts of the world. And so it's great that we have some international stakeholders here as well for Lobby Day.
Thank you. Yeah, last year we saw that once in some of the meetings that PSA was already on the table last year, one of the discussion points. And then the silences was also, suppressors were a point of discussion.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we sat in the meetings, we told it from our perspectives. It opened a whole new view of thought from the senators. So it was very, very insightful for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have that international voice in the room. So,
Jeremy, how do you see the partnership between PHASA and SCI? What's the benefits? What can we achieve by collaborating with each other?
Yeah, well, I certainly, as the international affairs liaison for SCI, I am thrilled by our partnership with PHASA, and looking forward, of course, to it growing. I think, from a benefits, perspective, obviously we have the shared office in Pretoria and Joburg, and so, it's great to have, that sort of close relationship where we can work well in person together on the ground in South Africa. I mean, I think, obviously here in the United States, I work well with folks in Southern Africa, in South Africa, and so forth. But it is really important, I think, to have that in-person engagement. And of course, PHASA really has, in my perspective at least, has really ramped up its advocacy in recent years, and I sincerely appreciate those efforts. Whether it's meeting in places like CITES, and obviously having that perspective in those CITES meetings is very important, or coming here obviously to Lobby Day, or other international fora and things like that. So I think from my point of view, which I am a member of SCI's advocacy team, it's very important to have PHASA and others involved in those sorts of discussions. And so I sincerely appreciate PHASA getting more and more involved in advocacy in partnership with SCI. And obviously our interests are combined, are pretty much the same thing. And so obviously it's great to have partners in that regard.
The office in South Africa, from our perspective, is also very beneficial.
Yeah.
Wumpu, that's working for you. The two of us have got a very close working relationship, and there's on a daily basis, small things and some larger things that we are addressing all the time.
Right.
It's difficult to quantify some of the stuff for the members, where the benefit is for them, but there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. That collaboration is very fruitful for both organizations.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are the ones who are on the ground, as I said before, and so I think it's always important to have that relationship, those partnerships where your members or other outfitters can bring issues to SCI, and we can collectively address them as needed. So.
And Jeremy, with the whole anti-hunting agenda narrative going on, not only in America but worldwide,
right?
What do you think is the future of hunting, and especially international hunting? How are things looking? How should our members out there feel about the future of certainly the American clientele that they get?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what some of the things that we really try to address at SCI, and of course PHASA does as well, is trade and trophies. And from a U.S. hunter perspective, obviously going abroad to hunt, one of the things that they want to do is bring back their hunting trophies. And so, one of the biggest things that we focus on from an international advocacy perspective is making sure that our members and all hunters can bring their trophies home. And so, it is getting more and more difficult to do that, whether it's from a policy perspective of, certain countries are prohibiting, whether it's all trophies, some trophies of certain species, et cetera, or from a, I'll say, logistics and financial perspective, right? Where airlines are closing off opportunities to or options in terms of shipping your trophies home. So those are the sorts of things that I think keep me up at night, if you will, and I'm sure likewise for you guys. So I but to go back to your question, I think I honestly am surprised at sort of how robust international hunting still is. I honestly think that if you kind of looked at it in the abstract, you might think that there's this downward trajectory or whatever, and kind of not have as much a hope, if you will. But we haven't really seen that, I don't think, and so I'm hopeful, I guess I will say, that that it won't change for the worse in the future, and that we will be able to solve a lot of these problems with nation policy or airline shipping or whatever. And so I don't know. Maybe I'll say the future. I'm hopeful the future will be bright.
Yeah, and young people are coming on board hunting, getting out there into the outdoors.
Absolutely.
The future of public land hunting in the US is looking positive.
For sure.
That's a good stepping stone for a lot of international hunters. Is obviously what happens in the US itself. So I think it's looking very good, and thanks a lot to SCI, Safari Club International, for doing a lot of groundwork, ensuring that hunting remains a heritage for not only Americans but us in South Africa and Africa too, the rest of the world actually. And thanks to SCI for leading that charge.
All right, you're welcome. We won't take all the credit, but no, we obviously do what we can, and as I said, we certainly appreciate the partnership with PHASA, and we have plenty to work on, but lots of positive outcomes as well.
Jeremy, thank you. It's great to be in the room with you guys. It's Early's first time with Lobby Week, so I think he's going to enjoy it.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here, Jeremy. Thank you very much for having us. I think we've got a bright future ahead, PHASA and SCI together.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We're happy you guys are here.
Thank you. We'll chat again.